What's up, guys? It is Michael, back from the dead with Scotty B, and today we're looking through Valenwood for Elder Scrolls 6. Now, again, we've written it all up on the trusty computer. Gonna read through a bunch of different headings. A lot of it will intertwine with our Elder Scrolls 6 video, but we'll start with the environment.
Alright, Valenwood. It's a nice dense jungle which adds a verticality to the map, whereas like Skyrim did with all the mountains, and there's a lot of caves up higher in the mountains. They could easily implement different locations and stuff in the higher up in the trees.
It'd be more like cities and camps, all interconnected with different walkways and shit, sort of like the Ewoks in Endor from Star Wars. And the cities could also exist not just around the exterior, but also on the interior of sort of like big redwood kind of trees in the hollows inside the...
And the game would actually have a very prehistoric primal feel, like the map, because a lot of it, it's not very urbanized at all. There aren't many urban areas, and there's that. And then perhaps another idea is to have a lot of the civil areas, the sort of towns and stuff, could even be higher up in the canopies, but down lower you could have like very dark sort of, because of the shade of the trees and so on, that has lots of different enemies, and there's, you know, all these different creatures.
It sort of function like an actual rainforest.
If you ever played Knights of the Old Republic, it's an older game, but do you remember the Wookiee planet Kashyyyk, the lower depth levels, where it was like almost like pitch black kind of thing?
Yeah.
And there were like lots of dangerous creatures and stuff down there?
It sort of works.
Kind of like
it's just like real life. Higher up you have all the like smaller leaves and stuff because of the sunlight. Lower down it has to adapt, so you get a lot of broader leaves to branch out and cover the most amount of sunlight so they can survive. And what that does then is provide a cover for, like he said, more like millipedes and just dangerous sort of lower level creatures.
Yeah.
The other thing about having the vertical layered environment is that it brings, it allows a great source for acrobatics. As we mentioned in the Elder Scrolls 6 video, as you have to climb around and whatever, jump, however they want to do it, acrobatics can be brought back like that. And it also leads to other things like miscellaneous climbing items, like, I don't know, grappling hooks, whatever.
Yeah.
And also new magic options for mages, like levitate spells and things that can help you go between each layer. Valenwood is also home to the Imgur, which is a race of sort of gorilla humanoid type of creatures, and they worship the elves, so they wear capes and stuff, and they really like the elves and they despise humans. Now, the thing with these Imgur gorillas is that they could be a playable race. Maybe.
Yeah, and especially if there was new skills such as climbing or something, that could be one of their natural advantages. So they could have a plus 15 acrobatics or whatever.
Whatever it is, acrobatics, climbing, whatever they want to do, the Imgur race, if it was a possibility, would have a big advantage.
Plot-wise, Valenwood, as per the 4th era and the time of around preceding Skyrim and so on, it's governed under the Aldmeri Dominion. So you'd experience a map, like you'd experience a world underneath, you'd experience a province that's ruled by the Aldmeri Dominion and elves rather than humans. So the Imperials, because the Imperials are a very multicultural, accepting kind of environment, whereas you live under the elves, playing a human race, it'd be the first time that you're sort of discriminated against in some cases.
It's a new dynamic.
Yeah.
And the other thing with that, the sort of motive for that, if you wanted to have a rebellion, which makes a lot of sense, is that it's rumored that, I got this straight from the wiki page, but whatever, it's rumored that the High Elves in Valenwood are cleansing the Wood Elves out, so it's not just a assimilation, they're almost killing the Wood Elves, like on the sly kind of thing.
I think it's they're also eliminating any sort of resistance or undesirable.
Yeah, but it's like but it's almost like a genocide, really. Like not on a full scale. Obviously, they want to get all the help they can have.
But they're just making up things and reasons to essentially cleanse undesirable Wood Elf.
Sort of like if you speak bad about the Thalmor and you're a Wood Elf, they'll disappear you in the night. It's not like
yeah. They'll make up some kind of,
and like that was. Best example of that, Malborn from Skyrim, his family was murdered by that sort of cleansing process, so that's why he's in Skyrim and he hates the Thalmor. So groups of Malborn-minded kind of individuals would be a great source of people who rebel against the Thalmor.
Yeah.
The other thing about... but touching on the story, that's not really heaps like epic. So if you wanted to have a larger scale of proportion in terms of the events, what you could do is make it sort of involve the breaking of the Green Pact. So like in Skyrim you had the dragons and the Dragonborn, it was all epic and they're coming back to life, they're going to destroy humanity. In Oblivion, Mehrunes Dagon opening up Oblivion gates and fucking shit up. And even in Morrowind you had the Nerevarine. So with the breaking of the Green Pact, it's a more... it's a larger scale.
Yeah, there's stuff to do with the gods. Something that's higher than the political affairs of Tamriel. Something that, like, because you know how there was Stormcloaks versus Imperials, but the higher up thing was the dragons are coming back, and that's
and this would
the fate
be
of
like
the
the
world.
Bosma god, how do you say, Ifri?
Ifri, yeah.
Ifri.
You know, they have this cultural worship of Ifri as per the Green Pact, and as long as they abided by the Pact, they would remain in their form. And the Green Pact, as you know, is that they can't harm the vegetation, the wood and the plants and stuff, and they can't...
The wood they have is imported. They can't damage their own forest.
Yeah, and also they can't waste food. They're not allowed to just go slaughter a bunch of deer for no reason.
Yeah,
and
it's
then throw
very
it away.
sort of indigenous in the way they manage the forest.
Which is also another thing, they don't waste food even if it's fallen enemies. So cannibals, they're cannibalistic, they'll eat their fallen enemies and so on. But also their whole culture and everything's very
carnivorous.
Carnivorous, but peaceful and everything. Like it would be a different kind of, like there couldn't be the rebellions and stuff. There wouldn't be a very very aggressive and so on, because the Green Pact makes them more peaceful and so on, because they don't want to have to eat everyone.
And because of the cannibalism and the carnivore style of their life, there'd be heaps of bone-looking stuff and leather and just things based around the utility that they can get from fallen enemies and creatures. So, like we had the, the Forgotten Vale, you saw those weird deers, there could be like leathers and
something a bit more...
made from that.
Yeah.
Feathers and stuff.
Also... to maintain diversity, because you don't just want all bone-looking armors or leathers and stuff. Easily with a Thalmor occupation, it could be a lot of elven-inspired aesthetics, clothing and apparel and weapons and so on, and imported stuff. So you could have a bit of cultural diversity and so on. The iron and steel could look very traditional, human, or it could be probably more elven-oriented, all the clothing.
Yeah, and basically, what I think one of the reasons why they don't have a lot of their own sort of metals and stuff, like, they can mine and things like that, but to mine and establish the processing of mining materials and big forges to mass-produce armors, you'd have to clear a lot of land, which would break the Green Pact because you're disrupting the vegetation. Yeah,
because they're a very nature-based thing, and one thing I forgot to actually write down is it would be a very archery-focused thing. Wood Elves... Bows is their big weaponry. Like there'd be guards everywhere. They just use bows, and weapons that they can find, like bone daggers and stuff. And they're very, it'd be cool. Like easily, you could have an archers guild and stuff like that. But I'm just going a bit off.
And in terms of our customization, is tattoos. There'd be all the they already have them,
tribalistic,
more tribal tattoos, piercings, whatever.
Yeah, like bone piercings and stuff too, especially like all that kind of...
Not like we don't see enough of that in our today's society.
Yeah, but...
Oh, I got a shark tooth necklace, look at me, bro.
But yeah, stuff like that.
Moving on to creatures. Creature-wise, it can be more diverse, as we mentioned earlier with the layered areas. So down below you have centipede kind of creatures and just really alien things. I mean, there'd have to be a lot of leeway in what they can... I mean, Bethesda, leave it up to them.
Yeah. Like, you could have these, like the deers we mentioned before, like a sort of alien deer-like creature. There could be huge hordes that cause stampedes and stuff that are being hunted by groups of elves. Like, hunting could be a sort of a new focus of a game, like a new sort of thing that they've sort of focused on implementing and crafting and that from that. and they could have higher above the forest floor. There can be enemies like werevultures or huge sloth-looking creatures climbing. They could, verticality to the whole thing. I mean, like you said, leave Bethesda to their own design, but just new, completely made-up creatures. Don't just have the troll. Don't have the troll of Valenwood and the troll of here. Have just really fresh, alien-looking.
And nothing, well, not nothing, but not as much stolen from our world. You know, I don't want them to just get like a freaking bald eagle and put it in. You know what I mean? Like, don't just get a whole bunch of different creatures. Did I mention what, mate?
Griffins.
No, it's at the end.
Oh, okay, continue.
I've put it under leaving thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing's Spriggans. So, Spriggans, as you know, are really like Mother Nature focused, and it would exist within Valenwood. But the thing about them is that they could have an alliance with the Wood Elves, perhaps. So, as we mentioned earlier, there could be a resistance to get the Thalmor, and the resistance is very focused around the traditional way of life. So, there could be like this alliance between the Spriggans and these people. And because of the culture as well, there'd be more of a shamanistic vibe. The whole concept of man being one with nature, it's more like a romantic era sort of feel. So they have a more loving and nurturing lifestyle, even though other cultures would perceive them as aggressive and cannibalistic. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even the companions as well and the relationships, Valenwood provides a good forge to make characters that are memorable and people like, as we mentioned in the Elder Scrolls 6 video.
And just a quick note before we go off creatures, last time I forgot to mention in the Black Marsh video about were creatures, like were crocodiles and were sharks, were vultures would be epic for Valenwood, and they would actually allow you to fly and so on, and that would be a pretty cool idea instead of just having werewolf again, or just only vampires or whatever, introducing werevultures and stuff. And
speaking of vampires,
yeah, they could have a unique forest type vampire, a unique Valenwood type vampire, like Volkihar vampires.
Very Nordy and Skyrim and ice. Yeah, ice.
They're supposed to be. They didn't represent it as much as the lore said, like how they're like in frozen lakes and stuff. But yeah, they should have.
They never will represent it to the extent that it should be.
Yeah.
But like Argonians should swim like tadpoles, blah blah blah. But it'll be to the lore to some extent. I just want it to be different and more green. And also, another thought is imagine flying mounts. Imagine within the interlinked forest, you can go up and there's some sort of griffin, as you said.
Yeah.
And you can like ride that thing, and you can have a bow, and you can go fly over stampedes of deer and shoot them down and hunt them, or go kill enemies. Or imagine a mass scale war with flying griffins with wood elves attacking the Thalmor, or another sort of enemy.
One thing they'd have to do, one technical thing they'd have to bring up with this is no loading screens between cities and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Where you'd have, like theoretically, if that was Skyrim, you could just fly into Whiterun and that's not loaded or rendered. How about have everything preloaded and rendered?
Yeah.
But what
block it with
people that say, "Oh, this is so hard and this is so shit." No, but you don't want it because you could just fly into it.
Yeah, okay,
but
I wouldn't be
Witcher 3 is doing it. They've made this huge open world that's they can render everything.
Yeah.
Fine. You don't
have some belief in the next Elder Scrolls game developers.
Yeah. They should do a really good job. So
that's about it. That's Valenwood for Elder Scrolls 6. And just a side note to finish, and I don't know how true this is, but we got a message from someone saying, because we said to everyone, email the Elder Scrolls 6 video to Bethesda. We emailed it, they didn't reply. Apparently they replied to someone saying they were using most of the stuff, not like they watched our video and they're like, this is great, we're gonna use their stuff, but they said most of the stuff we talked about they're focusing on and trying to improve. So maybe with an Aldemiri Dominion focus, the game could be set in Valenwood.
But just take that all with a grain of salt. Like
the grain of salt is.
We haven't seen anything from Bethesda. It was just
this could be an 8-year-old
guy.
kid saying they replied. But he gave me his email, so I said, show me. I want some screenshots. But yeah. Send it to Bethesda if you like. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. Follow us on Instagram. We're actually posting pictures pretty regularly, so if you want to see into the interesting life of two 18-year-olds, one 19-year-old.
19. Oh, and follow me on Twitter.
Follow them on Twitter.
Because I'm gonna,
Yeah, we exist.
I'll just write stuff.
We'll write stuff, you'll read it, interact. Thank you very much, and we'll see you later.